Good morning, ultimate hustlers and digital empire builders. It is that time for the Cortez Hustle Show. And today we've got a very special episode for you on this Dr. Martin Luther King Celebration Day. We're talking buying wealth with insurance expert A.L. Johnson. And why is it that a lot of people are so resistant to investing in their future? It's going down today, man. We got a special MLK presentation for you today as well. So hustle on in here, man. Click that like button, click that share button, comment in the chat where you're from, drop the name of your business and or your brand, smash that share button, and let's kick it this morning. Yo, what's up, ultimate hustlers, and welcome to the Cortez Hustle Show, the business podcast for the entrepreneur of the 21st century. And I'm your host, Cortez Hustle. Our goal is to give you a behind-the-scenes look at how the world's greatest hustlers build amazing brands, scale their businesses to incredible heights, sell more, make more, and create mass movements that impact the world. It doesn't matter if you're a seasoned vet or you're sitting on the sidelines with aspirations to one day unleash your inner hustle. This show will provide the insights into how pure grit, determination, and hard work has morphed into some of the most iconic brands and personalities and how they are moving the culture forward. You'll get a mix of solo shows featuring yours truly, as well as interviews and content from other hustlers that I either know personally or I've learned from or whose grind I've come to know and respect. And you'll also get exclusive recordings from our membership called Monetize My Life Academy, which you can check out at monetizemylifeacademy.com. That's a program where we go live every month with some of the best hustlers on the planet, sharing best practices on how we all can explode our brands with advanced branding and marketing tactics, business development strategies, and financial game planning necessary to build the empires we all desire. Again, that's at monetizemylifeacademy.com. If you like today's episode, chances are the hustlers you're connected to will like it as well. Share it with those in your network, and when you do, use hashtag Cortez Hustle so I can see you and hopefully give you a shout out and share you in my stories. So check out today's episode and make sure you subscribe to the feed on your favorite podcasting networks. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Cortez Hustle Show. I am, of course, your host, Cortez Hustle, everybody's favorite fatherpreneur, coming to you live and direct from the Monetize My Life Academy studios right here in St. Louis, Missouri. If you are looking to turn your gifts, talent, special abilities, experience, or expertise into an income, into a digital product business, then look no further. Monetize My Life Academy provides the tools, the templates, the training, the resources, and support to help you grow your knowledge base into an income stream, multiple income streams. And in fact, check out monetizemylifeacademy.com. Welcome to the Cortez Hustle Show on this MLK Day celebration. We're celebrating the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And I believe part of that legacy is for us to become economically empowered as a community of people. So we're talking buying wealth with A.L. Johnson. Do me a favor, comment in the chat where you're from, drop the name of your business and all your brand, smash that share button, ladies and gentlemen, invite people to this conversation because it's about to go down. A couple quick announcements for this week. As you guys know, Monetize My Life Academy is $97 a month. You can start for $1 a month. There is a price increase. We cannot keep giving away all of these tools for free or at such a low cost. So if you're considering joining the academy, then now is the time because you lock in your price for life and your price will never increase. Also, office hours. There will be no office hours on Tuesday night. That is tomorrow, January 17th. The office hours will move to Wednesday night at 7 p.m. That is January 18th. So office hours are moving because of a commitment with the St. Louis Griffins pro basketball team. I'll tell y'all more about that in the coming days as well. And that's it for today in terms of announcements. So I'm excited to get this brother on. He's helped me and my family when it comes to insurance, making sure we're properly protected. And outside of that, he's just a good dude, and he wants to see not only our community win, but the society at large. And there's some things that we have to get in order if we're going to make that a true reality. So I'm going to introduce to some of you guys and present to others Mr. Andrew A.L. Johnson. Good morning, A.L. How you doing, brother?
Good, man. Good. Appreciate you having me.
Awesome. Well, we're going to get into this conversation about buying wealth and some things that Dr. Martin Luther King wanted to see happen for the Black community and the positive impact that would have on America and the entire world as a result of getting our financial house in order. But before we get into any of that, we start every episode of the Cortez Hustle Show, AL, the same way with a quote of the day. And today's quote says this: if you want to be good, you really don't have a lot of choices. You have to do, it takes what it takes, right? You have to do what needs to be done in order to be successful. If you want to be good, you really don't have a lot of choices. It takes what it takes. You don't want, you have to do what you have to do in order to be successful. And that's from the legendary Alabama coach, Nick Saban. So do you have a favorite quote that you like to share, or do you want to chime in on that one, brother?
Well, what I would say is, in honor of Dr. Martin Luther King, I'd like to share one of his quotes. And what he said was, rioting is the language of the unheard. Yeah. And so a lot of times what we think about when we think about rioting, we think about the looting and the people in the streets and all of that. But if you just really just take it for what it is, it's chaos and it's destruction. And so when you look at our communities, you look at listen to our music, you see what's going on. There's a lot of chaos and destruction. And I believe that that's become our language because we've been unheard. And understand that the system that we live in, if you don't have finances, if you don't have resources, you essentially have no power. And so until we really start to change that paradigm, we'll continue to see the same chaos and the same destruction in our communities. And that's why I love what you do, empowering people through online marketing so that they can, generate the resources that they need so that they can have a peaceful life.
Yeah, man. I think for a long time, I was on the bandwagon of community first, right? Meaning, hey, the community is on fire. We need to go and band together, and we need to come together collectively, and we need to put this fire out. And I think that's incredibly difficult, especially when your house is on fire, right?
Absolutely.
And so I switched my ideology to say group economics start at home. Let's put the fire out in our house. And we may not be able to help the whole community put the fire out in the community at large, but if what we did worked for us, maybe we can just help a neighbor put their fire out.
That's it.
Maybe we can help a neighbor across the street put their fire out. And if everybody has that mentality of creating economic stability, starting within our households, and then sharing the knowledge of what works with the neighbors. First of all, everybody don't want to be wealthy. Everybody don't want to have the same outcome, but those that do, us working together, starting inside the house, and then connecting family to family with other like-minded families. Like, people don't understand that wealthy people join partnerships with other families, i.e. called marriage, right? They marry into other wealthy families because of how it positions them for generations to come. So
marriage is a business. It's a business. Like the Bible says, charity starts at home and then it goes abroad. And even when you look at the word community, it's really two words. It's common unity. And so just to piggyback off what you said, if we have that common goal of doing the best that I can in my household, teaching my children, making sure that they, become productive citizens and are moving in a proper way in the community, that's going to spread. And so, we just want to have that common unity of being the best we could be.
Absolutely. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is the quote of the day right here on the Cortez Hustle Show, brought to you by the St. Louis Griffins, professional basketball franchise here in St. Louis, Missouri. If you are a local business to St. Louis and you want to get in front of tens of thousands of new potential customers this year, you've got to check out the St. Louis Griffins partnership opportunity. Check out stlouisgriffins.com/partnership. They have something for at every price. And if nothing else, do it for the sake of bringing something positive, family-friendly entertainment to one of the most economically deprived areas in the whole St. Louis metro, the Wellston and Normandy area. So check out stlouisgriffins.com/partnerships to see how you can connect. So AL, my friend, I ask everybody who comes on the Cortez Hustle Show this very question, so you don't get to escape it. I'm going to ask it to you. And the question is this: who the heck are you?
Well, I'm A.L. Johnson. I'm a president of A.L. Johnson Life Insurance Agency. I've been a licensed life insurance agent for almost 13 years now. I was actually looking up my anniversary as an insurance agent is actually tomorrow.
Oh,
and so,
congratulations, brother.
Definitely happy to be here. Prior to that, I was a mortgage loan officer. And outside of that, I also have a nonprofit called Elevating Men, which is something that's dear to my heart. It's all about mental health in the Black male community, because I believe that's something that we really suffer with big time. And it's to the detriment of our communities when we don't take care of our mental health. But when we were off camera, you said, outside of business, like who are you? What do you do? How did you get to where you are? And so I have to say, what sparked my interest in finance is a very interesting thing. So I grew up with my mother. My parents divorced when I was young. I grew up in the church. My mother was a church secretary. She still is to this day. So my entire life, my mother's been a church secretary. So I've always been in the church. And the church that I grew up in, the pastor encouraged the members of the church to send their children to private school. And so I grew up in the hood. We were a lower middle income. And so I kind of grew up in the hood just like anyone else, but I actually went to school in the suburbs. And so the children that I went to school with were predominantly white. The school that I went to, one of them, out of the entire school, there were like 12 Black children. I say that to say, I was able to see the disparity between the two communities. My white friends in the suburbs, private school, big house, 2-parent household, fathers are engineers, doctors, dentists, etc. And then I would go home and it looked completely different. I remember going to a sleepover for one of my friends' houses. It was my first time ever going there. And the house was so big. I'm like, is this an apartment complex? Or like, where are we at? What's going on? And, we grew up in a way where my mother, she made some major sacrifices. And so for me to go to private school, you would think that maybe we had a little additional income. But to be honest with you, we didn't have a car until my senior year. So I did a lot of catching rides. That community that we talked about, I had a community of people around me that really helped my family and kind of helped me transport and get where I needed to be. I remember one day after soccer practice, so I played soccer, basketball, track. I was an athlete. And I get a ride home, and one of my friends, he's in the back, and he was like, "Oh my God, this is where you live at?" Right? So, for me, it was normal. To them, and so it just really put this thought process in my mind that there are two different worlds, right? And which world you live in depends on your income and your resources. Your income and your resources really depends on what you know, the education that you receive. And so in our communities, a lot of times the knowledge doesn't get passed down, like how life insurance works, how to buy a home, how to fix your credit, etc. And so it just exacerbates the problem, and we stay in these same situations. But I would say that shaped me. Now I'm a father, got 5 children, 2 boys, 3 girls, love them to death. And outside of that, I enjoyed, working out, exercising. I like to try to stay healthy, and I'm always trying to be involved in the community. So that's kind of who I am.
I love that, brother. And you're so right with the two different worlds, right? And not having the knowledge and the information. And really there's a lot of trauma attached to why that is. And some of that same trauma also keeps us in that situation. I love that you spoke on mom's sacrifice. I think that is a very, very underrated thing when it comes to success in all walks of life, right? You have a LeBron James who mom's had to sacrifice to make sure he played at the highest level. and was even willing to let him go and live with coaches and stuff. My mom, single mom, I'm fourth born of 6 children. I know all too well what it's like to go months on end without hot water because the gas is off. We boiling water on hot plates and no electricity. We're burning candles at night and stealing electricity from the pole and all that kind of stuff, man. And it's the lack of information, right? And here's what I know about wealthy people: they don't work harder than us.
They don't. They don't.
They're not smarter than us.
They know some things
right?
we don't.
They just know something we do not know. And I don't think we fight hard enough to get into the rooms and the spaces and the books, on the podcast, on the TV programs and the conferences to get that information. And it sounds like that's a very big part of your growth curve, is seeking out the knowledge. So
well, think about this. Think about this too, Cortez. So, and you know this, man. You're a sales guy. How many exposures does someone need before they're willing to do business with someone? Was it like 7 to 11 or
7 to 12 at least?
7 to 12, right? And so think about how many people in our community are beginning to hear financial concepts for the first time as adults, right? And so there's automatically this barrier and this resistance to the information, even once we get it. You know, that's one of our plagues. We didn't hear it growing up in the household to where it's commonplace. So when we become adults and we're able to just put it into action, we've got this whole wall we have to get over, that this is my first time hearing it. And so now I have to go through this process of educating, re-educating, learning, relearning, unlearning. And it just stretches it out. It stretches it out for us.
Yeah, it is a heck of a process, right? Because the way we've been programmed, we believe that everybody that is wealthy had that money passed down to them. So we have this resentment towards wealthy people because we're saying, hey, if everybody had that money passed down to them, we know how they got it. They got it through slavery in some shape, form, or fashion. So if it's passed down from generation to generation, then I'm mad at you for being wealthy because your wealth was built on the backs of my people. And now I'm upset. But what we don't realize is 2 things. A, your subconscious mind will never let you become that which you despise. So you hating wealthy people means you're never going to become one of them, because otherwise you're going to have to hate yourself, and your subconscious mind ain't going to let that happen, right?
That's deep.
2, 80% of all wealthy people today are first generation wealthy. They didn't get anything handed to them, not even a $10,000 insurance policy like Master P. 80% of today's wealthy people, right? And this is my study for this month, The Millionaire Next Door. This is probably my 3rd time reading it.
I love that book. Love it. Love it.
80% of all wealthy people today are first generation, meaning they were not born with wealth. They didn't come from money. They didn't get a handout. So if we can flip how we see wealthy people to say, wait a minute, if this person did it by starting a small business, if this person did it by working for a janitorial company, they learned the game and then they eventually branched out on their own. If this person did it in 40 years, then I can do it too. That has to be the mentality that we have to adopt. So,
well, so, you know, part of that, so with that book, you know, acquiring wealth is one thing, but when you look at the process, and so in that book, it talked about railroad workers and postal service workers who are millionaires, you know, literally the millionaire next door. And a lot of times we perceive the millionaires as you have to be in entertainment, you have to be in sports, you have to be in these really narrow fields where there's limited opportunity, not realizing that if you just learn how to properly invest and manage your money and get out of the consumer mindset, the average job can get you there. But we also have this lack mentality that says, as soon as I get $1, I need to get the things that I want now because I don't know when the next dollar is coming. And it's really easily displayed when you watch how people use their income tax. So you work all year, you pay your bills, you get this, you know, windfall of cash. And instead of making investments or maybe starting that small business, connecting with you and Monetize My Life Academy or something along those lines, hey, we're buying cars that we can't afford. We're, you know, getting new furniture we don't need, big screen TVs. And so we have to get out of that mindset that we'll never, so that we can properly
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. That is the biggest challenge for us. And it's all can be traced back to psychological trauma, right? And that's something that we have to deal with. And I'm excited that you're dealing with the mental health side of it from the man's perspective. But Dr. Joy DeGroot talks a lot about post-traumatic slave syndrome. And it was mandated when slaves got their hands on any money that they spent it on booze and different things to go have a good time. They couldn't keep any of the money. So from for years of programming that every time you get some money, then you go have a good time. And it was forced upon us. So that kind of lifestyle and that trauma has built up over the years. And we are still experiencing the effects of it. And not only experiencing the effects of it, compounding the effects of it on ourselves as we continue to move out the diaspora. So we've got to get to our favorite segment of the show, AL, and this is a segment that I call 1 Minute Motivation. It's usually a 60 to 90-second clip where I ask you to take down a couple takeaways. I give a couple takeaways, but today we're going to go a little bit longer. I have a very special Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. presentation for 1 Minute Motivation, and he's talking about two different versions of his dream. So let's get into some 1 Minute Motivation right here on the Cortez Hustle Show.
I have a dream. My 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today.
I must confess that that dream that I had that day has at many points turned into a nightmare. Now, I'm not one to lose hope. I keep on hoping. I still have faith in the future. But I've had to analyze many things over the last few years, and I would say over the last few months. I've gone through a lot of soul-searching and agonizing moments, and I've come to see that we have many more difficult days ahead, and some of the old optimism was a little superficial, and now it must be tempered with a solid realism. And I think the realistic fact is that we still have a long, long way to go, and that we are involved in a war on Asian soil, which, if not checked and stopped, can poison the very soul of our nation. I'm not going to say that all of our problems will be solved if the war in Vietnam is ended, but I do say that the war makes it infinitely more difficult to deal with these problems. When a nation becomes obsessed with the guns of war, it loses its social perspective, and programs of social uplift suffer. This is just a fact of history, so that we do face many more difficulties as a result of the war. It's much more difficult to really arouse a conscience during a time of war. There is something about a war like this that makes people insensitive. It dulls the conscience. It strengthens the forces of reaction, and it brings into being bitterness and hatred and violence. I think the biggest problem now is that we got our gains over the last 12 years at bargain rate, so to speak. It didn't cost the nation anything. In fact, it helped the economic side of the nation to integrate lunch counters and public accommodations. It didn't cost the nation anything to get the right to vote established. And now we are confronting issues that cannot be solved without costing the nation billions of dollars. Now, I think this is where we're getting our greatest resistance. They may put it on many other things, but we can't get rid of slums and poverty without it costing the nation something. I feel that nonviolence is really the only way that we can follow, because violence is just so self-defeating. A riot ends up creating many more problems for the Negro community than it solves. You can, through violence, burn down a building, but you can't establish justice. You can murder a murderer, but you can't murder through violence. You can murder a hater, but you can't murder hate. And what we are trying to get rid of is hate and injustice and all of these other things that continue the long night of man's inhumanity to man.
When we allow freedom ring, when we let it ring from every village and every hamlet, from every state and every city, we will be able to speed up that day when all of God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual, free at last, free at last, thank God Almighty, we are free at
last. Heavy stuff right there from the good and great Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. on both sides. I love both sides of the dream, right? There's never been and there never can be a one-sided coin, right? There's the way this whole world is set up on polarity and duality. You can't have a one-sided slice of bread. If you got a slice of bread, it automatically has two sides. You got a dream and you got a nightmare. And later in his life, he started to recognize that there's what we accomplished through civil rights and the right to vote and those sorts of things was not enough, right? So the reason I love doing a 1-minute motivation in these segments, especially when I have a guest on, is because we all just listen to the same clip, but based on where we are in life, we all heard something very different. So what did you hear, my friend?
What I heard was optimism was superficial. I don't know what it was, but out of everything he said, those 3 words really stood out to me. You know, a lot of times we dwell in this optimism and this hope that like things are going to change on their own. As I said in the beginning, I grew up in the church, you know, and so you always hear about, you know, just have faith, pray, wait, you know, and those types of things. But at the end of the day, that optimism means absolutely nothing if we don't have the proper action steps behind it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, he said he had to temper his optimism with some realism, right?
Exactly.
There were some powers that existed that didn't want, you know, what he was talking about to come to pass. And as much flack as he got for trying to integrate, as much flack as he got from trying to create voters' rights and those things, I don't think that was the straw that broke the camel's back. I believe that when someone as charismatic as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., when someone as well-liked and well received in the poor communities across the world started a plan, the poor people's movement, to unite poor people throughout the country, white, black, Asian, Italian, Hispanic. If you were poor in this country, he was pointing the finger at the real reasons that you were poor. And I believe that kind of is where somebody drew a line. It's like, you can talk about a lot of stuff, but you can't talk about why Americans are struggling financially. And the last thing you can do is bring all of the people together and start pointing that finger collectively in the right direction. So
yeah, look, if I may, I want to tie that into life insurance just really quick, because during the civil rights movement, we were pushing for life insurance too. So if you go back to slavery, the slave owners had life insurance policies on the slaves. I've been doing a little research. I found newspaper articles where they had just blatant ads, insure your slaves, right? And it's interesting because when you fast forward to today and you look at hip hop and the rap community, brothers are dying left and right. You know, they're getting these record deals, you know, from the labels. Then within a few months, you notice they, you know, have a hit record, and then boom, some type of violence happens and they're gone. Well, French Montana, he was basically airing it out. He was like, well, these labels have life insurance policies on the artists. And so now that's become another profit center for them. And so it's like everybody's profiting off of us except for us, right? And so then when you go to the civil rights movement, before civil rights, we could get life insurance, but we would get a third of the coverage. We would pay 3 times as much as our white counterparts. After the civil rights movement, they said, well, you can't do that anymore. Well, what I found was a lot of our legacy insurance companies like Prudential and MetLife, they put out memos to the sales force that said, okay, well, don't go talk to the Black people. Now, understand, Black people live in poor neighborhoods, so that also affected poor whites. So they stopped going to those neighborhoods. And in fact, some companies even cut out a commission. So they said, okay, you can sell to them, we're just not going to pay you, right? And so I always ask the question, if someone wants to keep you oppressed and there's something that's good for you, they're going to work hard to prevent you from getting it, right?
Yeah.
They tried to completely lock us out of life insurance. And so for us to not understand the opportunity now that we have to actually buy generational wealth, you don't have to work. You don't have to figure it out. You don't have to build a big business. You just pay a monthly premium and generational wealth is guaranteed. More people really need to understand that.
Yeah, that is so powerful. And we're going to end this segment on that, man. But you are absolutely right. Everybody understands how to insure their assets. And when you think about the biggest asset that you have is your life. Like, it's
on top of it being the biggest, let's think about this. There's so many different types of life insurance, right? How many of them are guaranteed to pay out though? And not that the insurance company won't pay, but what I mean is you have car insurance. You may never get in a car accident. You have homeowners insurance. Your house may never burn down, right? But every single one of us are going to meet our maker. And so life insurance truly is the only form of insurance that you're guaranteed to use.
Wow. Amazing. Amazing. So that, ladies and gentlemen, was our special Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. edition of 1 Minute Motivation, brought to you by our good friend, A.L. Johnson. Make sure you go check out his website. You want to throw that up for him right now real quick?
It's ALJohnsonLifeinsurance.com. ALJohnsonLifeinsurance.com.
ALJohnsonLifeinsurance.com. If you need a quote, then he's my guy. He's going to get you squared away. So we're talking about this idea of buying wealth, right? I jokingly say, but in jest, that there's 4 ways to acquire wealth in America. You can buy it, build it, steal it, or inherit it, right? Seriously, when you think about it, we know wealth is being stolen every day. Just ask TLC, right? Just ask New Edition. Like, ask some of these biggest artists. Ask the estate of Prince and how his estate was devalued. So wealth is stolen every day, right? But we're not advocating that you go and steal any wealth, right? Inheritance. We are not in position, a large percentage of our community, I would say 98%, is not getting any type of inheritance whatsoever. So that's off the table for us. So what are our 2 options, right? If we're going to break generational curses as it relates to financial, and we know that if you break the financial generational curse, a lot of other dominoes are going to fall too, right? So what are the other 2 options? You can buy it or you can build it, right? Entrepreneurship is how you build it, right? But buying life insurance is how you can buy it. And we don't talk enough about it. So if I were to ask you, AL, what do you think one of the biggest reasons that we are not investing in life insurance today?
Well, here's the thing, and I like to provide this information. Actually, Black people purchase life insurance more than any other race. And so it's almost a misconception that we don't purchase life insurance. What I've noticed from my experience is we don't purchase the right type of life insurance at the right time in our life. And so when it comes down to the point that we actually pass away, we leave little to nothing. So what do I mean by that? There is a saying, buy term and invest the difference. I'm not against that. I sell a lot of term life insurance, but understand where I'm coming from. When you purchase a temporary policy, it pushes off the inevitable, and then you renew your term, and then it pushes it off again. At some point, you're going to become uninsurable because as we age, we get health problems. Maybe you have a heart attack, stroke, you get diagnosed with cancer. We end up in situations where at some point you have people who have had life insurance all these years, and then when it really comes down to crunch time, they have little to nothing there. And I see it all the time. I actually did an interview with a funeral home owner, and the question was asked, you know, what's the number one thing that you see as far as people who possibly had life insurance, but for some reason it doesn't seem to pan out? It's people bringing in policies that have expired, right?
Ooh.
And so we buy these inexpensive policies, which is great, because my belief is it's better to have something than nothing, right?
Yeah,
absolutely, because it will pay out. But if you outlive the policy, and then say you try to get a policy in your 60s or your 70s, you've retired, you're on a fixed income, now you can only purchase so much coverage, right? And so that's why, you know, grandma and your uncles and your aunts, they generally end up leaving policies of $10, $15, $20,000, because the insurance company prices the policy based off of your mortality. So the closer you are to the inevitable, the more they charge you. And nobody wants to spend their entire, you know, living on life insurance. And so now they have to get a very small policy. And so I would say the thing that the mistake that we make, we're doing one thing good. We're purchasing life insurance, but the mistake we make is we don't consider purchasing anything permanent while we're young, healthy, vibrant, and the rates are low.
So talk about those differences between the term and the permanent, because I think, so I at one point was licensed, and I realized I love the marketing side and the lead gen side more than the actual writing of the policy. So I let my license lapse, but I did learn a lot about life insurance. And I know that even with riders and things of that nature, you can guarantee insurability, like, so that if you do get a terminal illness or you fall ill, like, they can't deny you coverage because you took care of that early on and you wrote that into the contracts and things of that nature. So help us understand when you say by permanence, especially while you're healthy, versus only having terms. And you can have term and whole at the same time, right?
I have both. Right? And so what I tell people is you purchase life insurance, temporary insurance, which is term, for temporary needs. And so the mistake people make is they purchase it for everything. No, a temporary need is you just purchased a home, you got a 30-year mortgage, you get a 30-year term to match it. Once that term is over, the house is paid off, you no longer need the coverage. So it's fine with it being temporary. Or say you have young children that you're raising. At some point, they're going to become adults. They're going to be self-sufficient. You have a large term policy to carry that time in case you pass away early. Someone can have enough finances to take care of it. But then when you talk about permanent coverage, you have to ask yourself, what are your permanent needs? One being funeral expenses. We have absolutely no idea when we'll be called home. You may live to 70, 80, 90 years old. No matter what age you are, that need is still going to be there. So you need permanent coverage for that. The second one, and I believe this is extremely important, especially for Black and brown communities and poor white communities as well, is leaving an inheritance, which you talked about before. We rarely leave an inheritance. And so if your true idea is to buy generational wealth and leave an inheritance, ask yourself the question, can you truly do that with a temporary policy? You can't. And so the actual inheritance needs to be through permanent life insurance coverage. And so most people who are in their middle age need a combination of both. They need their temporary coverage for, again, mortgages, income replacement, etc. But you also want that permanent policy that's going to leave your inheritance and take care of your final expenses. There are two ways that you can cover yourself through permanent life insurance. And so you have whole life, and then you also have universal life. And I think that it's really important that people understand how these work, because most people really only know about term and whole life insurance. And so they either hear buy term, invest the difference. They hear, whole life has trash value, meaning that, that cash value component is something that you shouldn't invest in. But there's a policy right in the middle called universal life insurance. And that policy can be designed to last your entire life, but not build cash value, which means it lowers the cost and allows you to get a significant amount of coverage that doesn't go away.
Interesting. So we are buying it. We are buying the wrong type in most cases, going back to the lack of information, the lack of knowledge and understanding. And I I would always say probably include in there a little bit of predation, right? Because historically, our communities have one of the highest uh, concentrations of wealth and disposable income because we traditionally don't value anything. So we have the disposable income, we're just spending it on stuff. And I've literally watched other cultures come in and put a vacuum cleaner in our communities and suck
Oh
out
yeah.
the wealth. So I would say if
Who
we
owns
don't,
the liquor stores and the gas stations and the corner stores? And it's not
yeah,
us.
yeah, they're
Yeah.
sucking out that wealth, and um, we are suffering because we don't have the information. And I want you to talk about marry in my favorite form of accumulating wealth with it, which is building it, right? You as an agent can kill two birds with one stone. You can help the community and create an income and a lifestyle that you want through your own business as an agency. Now you've got the best of both worlds. You've bought wealth because you've got adequate coverage yourself, but you're also building wealth actively with your time. Why is it not enough of you guys educating our people in the community about these three different types of life insurance that can create the legacies that we want to create?
There's a few reasons. There is a miseducation is one. And so one thing in the insurance industry that I found is the education is poor. The education is poor. And so with a lot of agents, it's literally the blind leading the blind. You have a lot of multi-level marketing insurance agencies where people are encouraged to bring in agents as soon as they become an agent. And so they haven't really learned, they haven't learned anything. They don't necessarily know what they're talking about. They have good intentions, don't get me wrong, but they aren't properly educated. Then there's another thing. So I'm a broker. I represent multiple companies. What that allows me to do is see different rates. I'm able to see different policy types. I'm able to go through different trainings. And so it gives me a wider perspective, a better understanding. When I first started, I worked with one company. When you work with one company, you only learn their philosophy, their view on life insurance. You only have access to their products. And so there are some companies that only sell term life insurance, right?
Yeah.
And in my opinion, life insurance is it's not one size fits all. And so when you only have one product, that's all you're giving the community. And of course, your income is tied to the product that you sell. As a salesperson, you're going to disparage any other policy types, right? And so it becomes less about the community and the people that you're purporting to help, and it becomes more about your pocketbook. And so I would say that's one of the main reasons that you really don't hear about all the policy types is because of the lack of education in the industry, and you have agents who are self-serving.
Gotcha. All right. Well, hey, we've got to get to another brand new segment that I just recently started doing last week, and I think the audience likes it. So as healthy and as rich as this conversation is, we're going to take a break from the action and hit on with this brand new segment that we call Portrait of a Millionaire. So Portrait of a Millionaire is where we talk about some of the tips from one of my favorite books, The Millionaire Next Door, and give you an idea of what an actual millionaire looks like. So let's get to Portrait of a Millionaire right here on the Cortez Hustle Show. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is Portrait of a Millionaire right here on the Cortez Hustle Show. In this segment, I'm going to give you the 7 factors commonly found amongst millionaires, and I'm going to give you one millionaire trait from America's millionaires. And when I say America's millionaires, I'm not talking about the millionaires that you see on TV, because a lot of times those people look like they're millionaires, but they literally have a low net worth. What are the 7 factors of millionaires? Number 1, they live well below their means. Number 2, they allocate their time, energy, and money efficiently in ways conducive to building wealth. Number 3, they believe that financial independence is more important than displaying high social status. Number 4, their parents did not provide economic outpatient care. Number 5, their adult children are economically self-sufficient. Number 6, they are proficient in targeting market opportunities. And number 7, they chose the right occupation. So let's look at our next picture of a millionaire. Many of the types of businesses we are in could be classified as dull normal. We are welding contractors, auctioneers, rice farmers, owners of mobile home parks, pest controllers, coin and stamp dealers, and paving contractors. We're talking about buying or building wealth. Entrepreneurship is one of the ways to go, but we tend to want to be in those entrepreneurial endeavors that are quote unquote sexy, right? But sometimes the right business, though it's dull and normal, is exactly what you need to be in to build and accumulate massive amounts of wealth in stable industries, whether you can be successful in and out of a bull market or a bear market. So that, my friends, is Portrait of a Millionaire right here on the Cortez Hustle Show. All right, my friend. So, you're giving the people a lot to think about, man. Chime in if you heard something that you didn't know about insurance so far. We're going to keep this conversation going. So we last left off with the 3 different types of insurance. We talked about why we don't have agents like you, enough of them, it seems, to be educating on these 3 different things because of the types of companies that people find themselves in as insurance agents, and not having the adequate amount of training. But like with anything, you're responsible for your own education. Like you're responsible for your own learning and that kind of stuff. So what was it that made you eventually say, I'm not getting everything I need here. Let me start doing my own research. Let me start doing some cross-referencing about this industry that I'm in, that ultimately caused you to fall in love with the industry and really leverage it as a way to make a huge impact in our community?
So what happened was, like I said, I worked for one company. It's a great company, and it taught me a lot. But what happened was I kept running into situations where there were people that I couldn't insure, or I couldn't get them the type of policy that they were looking for. And there was one particular lady, she had a couple policies with me. At one point, she ended up having a medical condition that popped up, and I couldn't get her the additional coverage that she wanted. And then in my limited knowledge, I said, well, hey, you're not going to be able to get any life insurance anywhere. Little did I know that there were companies out there that would accept what she had. And so she ends up calling one day. She says, hey, Andrew, I found this policy. And I said, well, wait a minute. You shouldn't qualify for anything. So just hold on before you make that payment. Let me come by and check it out. And so I looked at the policy. Everything checked out. I called the company. It was legit. And I was confused. and so I asked her for the card of the agent that sold her the policy. I ended up calling him up. We had a conversation, and he said, well, I'm an independent agent. I had never even heard those words before. I had no idea what he was talking about. And he said, yeah, I work with about 13 different companies. And so I place my clients based on their needs. And I'm like, wait a minute. And those words just kind of stuck with me.
Yeah.
It did end up taking a while for me to transition because I was doing well with the company that I was with. And eventually every time I ran into a situation where I couldn't serve my clients the best, it would play back in my mind again. And eventually I said, you know what, I need to go ahead and make the transition. And so I reached out to someone, learned the process, and started out as an independent agent. And then from there, that's when I really dug deep into my own research and my own studying, breaking apart the different policy types, understanding the history of insurance and why things are the way they are. And my first, thing as far as going out into the community, I went to the churches because that's where we meet. If you think about it, like in the Black community, they say we have no unity. We go to church together and we go to the club together. right? And so I picked the
absolutely.
church. Right? And so I would go to churches, do these seminars, and from the questions that I would get from the audience, I began to develop the way that I teach life insurance now. And so that's how that came about.
Brother, you're doing an amazing job, I must say, because I've never heard it so eloquently put as you did today, to help us understand that there's insurance for different things and different reasons. Even when you think about the key man insurance that a label will have on its artists, like, keep on doing that, talking that death and destruction. And if somebody and help me with this, because the amount of insurance that I can get on your life as a key man has a lot to do with your earning potential. So if you are a multi-million-dollar artist,
Absolutely,
I can get multi-million-dollar insurance policy on your life. So it doesn't matter if you live or die to me. Keep on spewing that stuff. Keep on going and putting yourself in these situations, because we know good and well, if I got an asset that means something to me, I'm going to protect that asset at all costs. And I'm not going to let you act recklessly like that, unless, of course, it's more beneficial to me if you.
Yeah, because depending on how the contract is written, if they haven't paid off their advances or hit certain quotas or sales, that stream of income is going to remain with the record label, and it's not going to go to the family. So not only do they get that stream of income from their music and their residuals, they're also getting the life insurance policy.
Ooh, yeah, we're going to bring you on. That's another conversation for another day. We got to get to our final segment of the day. This is also one of my favorites. It's called Freestyle, because I know you got bars, bro. You over there in KC, man, doing your thing, man. I know you was no. So Freestyle is, as I'm building this multi-billion-dollar international media conglomerate, starting with this podcast, I didn't go to school for journalism. I don't always ask the right questions. The conversation doesn't always go where we want it to go. So freestyle is your opportunity to take 2 minutes and either reiterate something that you feel is important, or give them something that you wanted to talk about and we just didn't get to yet. So this is freestyle right here on the Cortez Hustle Show with my man, A.L. Johnson. Hit him with your best bars, bro.
So earlier when I said buying the right type of life insurance at the right time, I want to talk about insuring our children. It's extremely important. There's a newspaper here called the Call newspaper. It's the community newspaper in the Black community, and they have an obituary section. And when you go in there and you look, a lot of times when we think about life insurance and death and funerals, we think about grandma and grandpa, and we overlook the fact that there are children dying in the streets every day, right? Here in Kansas City, we've had close to 200 murders in 2022, right? And the majority of them were 25 and under. And so when I say insure our children, that's the healthiest that they're ever going to be. And we don't do anything but get older. And with life insurance pricing being based on your age and your health, the most affordable policy is going to be for your child. And children don't get term life insurance, they get permanent insurance. And so if we insure our children properly, we get the lowest rate possible, and they're able to carry that out through their entire life. Now, one misconception that I always get is, well, if I'm paying on a policy that long, then I'm definitely going to overpay. Absolutely not, because what you have to understand is life insurance companies are making investments on the back end. And so literally for a child's policy, generally, if they live to 100 years old, you're going to pay half of what the death benefit would be to the family. And so there's no better value than insuring our children with life insurance. For example, a 3-year-old child can get a $50,000 permanent policy for like $20 a month, right? So let's just really look at it. Say when that same child turns 70, 75 years old, they retire, they're on a fixed income, they're paying $20 a month. And this is if they never bought any other insurance throughout their life, right? Master P made a media conglomerate off of $10,000. $50,000 is what this child will have, $20 a month. Now, what I always picture is, you got 2 old ladies, they're at the YMCA in the morning, they're working on the treadmill, they're talking about insurance and being insurance poor and et cetera. And one says, well, how much do you pay for your life insurance? Well, she says, well, man, I'm paying $200 a month. I got, $30,000 that my family will get. And the other one says, well, I'm paying $20 a month and I've got $50,000. The only difference is when it was purchased.
Mm.
And so one of the big things that I really am preaching right now is let's insure our children, right? Let's stop waiting and procrastinating and saying, hey, in the future or when they get older, we don't know when they may have a health issue that disqualifies them, right? And then the older they get, the more expensive it is, which limits the amount of coverage you can afford. Let's insure our children while they are young. And let's stop buying $10,000 policies for our kids. And the reason I say this, I don't want to think about something happening to your child, them passing away, them dying, or anything like that. You just don't want to think about it. But if they do, think about what you want to happen. Do you just want to be able to cover a funeral and that's it? Because understand, and you know this because you teach entrepreneurship, these employers don't care anything about you and your family. At the end of the day, I have a friend, he lost his son and he got 5 days of bereavement. Could you imagine that? You lose your child and then you have 5 days to grieve and now you got to get back on the clock. And so don't only buy enough insurance for a funeral, purchase enough so that you actually have time to grieve properly. If you need to step away from your job for a couple of months, you want to be secure financially, and you can do that through life insurance. And so the one thing that rarely gets asked is about life insurance for children because it's something that we don't think about. I'm a huge pusher of life insurance for kids. Let's insure our children.
Boom, drop to mic, ladies and gentlemen. Bars up in this piece with A.L. Johnson. That is freestyle right here on the Cortez Hustle Show. Well articulated, my friend. I think everybody gets it. I see a lot of thank yous, and I see my man Mark, R.I.P. Tupac, right? Because there's some stuff going on in those type of artists, label relationships and all of that kind of stuff, man. So tell everybody how they can connect with you if they need to get a policy review, or maybe they just need to understand what their options are. How can they connect with you?
So in Facebook, go in the search bar, type in A.L. Johnson. You'll see my personal page, but you'll also see A.L. Johnson Life Insurance Agency. My website is aljohnsonlifeinsurance.com. At the bottom of any page that you go to, scroll down and you'll see an opportunity to join our newsletter. In that newsletter, we provide a lot of helpful tips, strategies as it relates to life insurance, and just general community news. And so I want you to subscribe to our newsletter, follow the website, and follow me on social media. We also have a YouTube channel. You can pull that up at A.L. Johnson Life Insurance. We have several videos that break down the different types of life insurance and how they work so that you can become a more educated consumer. But follow me. I'd love to have you.
There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, I told y'all in honor of the great Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. that we would be talking about buying wealth, economic empowerment for you as a family. Let's just I know we got some issues in the community, right? But if you just get your household in order, and then what works for you, share it with your neighbor, right? That to me has a far greater chance of succeeding than placing the burden of community restoration on a handful of leaders or organizations, the NAACP or the Urban League or anything like that. No, you take ownership of your ability to prolifically accumulate wealth because we have it in us. God gave every single one of us a special gift, talent, experience, or expertise that we could leverage, that we can use to make room for us in this marketplace. So happy MLK Day to each and every one of you guys. That's going to do it for us here on the Cortez Hustle Show. Until I talk to you next time, I want you to get your money up because you absolutely can do it. But more importantly, you deserve to do it, each and every single one of you. Hustle up. But you've got to overcome fear if you're going to win.
You're tuned into the Cortez Hustle Show. Please like and subscribe.